Hi there, my name's Nancy. I'm 21 years old and 3 years ago, I married the love of my life, Johnson. Everything seemed perfect, even though he is Spanish and we had a bit of a language barrier. To show him how much I loved him, I decided to learn Spanish in secret. I wanted to surprise him and his family, especially his mother, Mary. I was determined to learn Spanish so I could connect better with Johnson and his family. I spent hours every day listening to Spanish podcasts, watching Spanish TV shows, and practicing with language apps. I even took a night class at the community center. Slowly but surely, I got better, but I kept my progress a secret. I wanted the moment I revealed my Spanish skills to be special. One sunny Sunday, we invited Mary over for afternoon tea. I was in the kitchen, putting the final touches on a cake, when I heard the doorbell ring. Johnson greeted his mother warmly. "Hola, mama. ¿Cómo estás?" Johnson said, giving her a hug. "Estoy bien, hijo. Gracias por invitarme," Mary replied, smiling as she stepped inside. I took a deep breath and walked into the living room. "Hi, Mary. It's so nice to see you," I said, trying to hide my nerves. "Hello, Nancy. Thank you for having me," Mary replied, her English always so perfect. We all sat down at the table, and Mary handed me a box. "I brought some croissants and bagels for our tea," she said with a smile. "Oh, thank you. That's so thoughtful," I said, placing the box on the table. As we started eating, the conversation switched to Spanish. "Ella preparó la comida?" Mary asked Johnson, thinking I couldn't understand. "No, Mama. Yo hice la mayoría del trabajo," Johnson replied. "Gracias a Dios," Mary said with a tone that made me pause. I felt a pang of confusion and hurt. Why would she say that? I always thought she liked my cooking, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe she just wanted to eat food made by her son. Then I heard her say, "Odio su comida. Por qué no me llevaste a un café para evitarla?" My heart sank. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Did Mary really hate my cooking that much? And worse, was she lying to my face about it? I decided to play along and act like I didn't understand. "Oh, don't worry about speaking Spanish. I'll be fine," I said with a smile. "Eres muy amable, Nancy," Mary said, looking a bit taken aback but continuing in Spanish. I took out my phone and opened the Google Translate app, pretending to check something. I discreetly started recording their conversation to understand every word. Mary leaned in and whispered to Johnson, "Quiero que hablemos de nuestro plan. El tiempo se acerca, es literalmente mañana. Tienes que ser serio." My heart raced. What plan? I glanced at my phone and saw the translation confirming my worst fears. They were planning something against me, but what? "Mama, no ahora, daí que me encargaría de eso," Johnson replied. "¿Qué vas a decirle?" Mary asked, her voice tense. "Nancy, darling, can you pass me the sugar?" Johnson asked, switching to English with a forced smile. "Sure," I said, handing him the sugar bowl, my mind racing with questions. "She doesn't know anything about the plan," Johnson continued in Spanish. "I was just going to tell her that I would be out of town." "Fuera de la ciudad? ¿Para qué?" Mary asked, sounding annoyed. I kept my eyes on my phone, pretending to be distracted while listening intently. Their words stung, but I needed to know the truth. "Vamos a discutir esto más tarde," Johnson said, trying to end the conversation. I knew I had to stay calm and not reveal that I understood everything. I needed a plan of my own to uncover what they were hiding. My mind was spinning with the possibilities as I smiled and nodded, pretending to be none the wiser. That day, I realized that love and trust could be shattered by whispered secrets, and I was determined to uncover every single one. After that shocking Sunday, I couldn't get Mary and Johnson's words out of my head. What was this mysterious plan they were talking about? I had to find out, but I needed to be smart about it. I decided to use my new Spanish skills to gather more information without them knowing. The next day, while Johnson was at work, I set up a little corner in our bedroom with my laptop and notebook. I played the recording from yesterday and listened carefully, writing down every word. The more I listened, the more anxious I became. They were clearly up to something, and it involved leaving me behind. In the evening, Johnson came home, his usual cheerful self. "Hi, Nancy. How was your day?" he asked, giving me a kiss on the cheek. "It was good, thanks. How was yours?" I replied, forcing a smile. "Busy, as always. But it's nice to be home," he said, heading to the kitchen to grab a snack. I followed him, trying to act normal. "What's the plan for tonight? Any special plans?" I asked casually. "Not really, just dinner and maybe a movie," he suggested. "Sounds perfect," I said, though my mind was far from at ease. As we sat down for dinner, I noticed Johnson checking his phone frequently. He seemed distracted, which only made me more suspicious. I decided to take a bold step. "Johnson, I was thinking, maybe we should go on a trip together. Just the two of us," I suggested, watching his reaction closely. He looked up, surprised. "A trip? That sounds nice, but I have a lot of work coming up. Maybe in a few weeks?" "Sure, that works," I said, trying to hide my disappointment. He was definitely hiding something. Later that night, while Johnson was in the shower, I took his phone from the nightstand and quickly accessed his messages. There were several texts between him and Mary, all in Spanish. My heart pounded as I read them. "Mama, todo esto listo para mañana. Salimos a las 2 p.m., Johnson had texted. "Perfecto. Asegurate de que Nancy no se entere," Mary replied. I quickly memorized the important details and put his phone back before he could notice. They were planning to leave tomorrow at 2 p.m. I needed more information. The next morning, I acted as if everything was normal. "Have a great day at work, honey," I said as Johnson left for the day. "You too, Nancy. See you tonight," he replied, giving me a kiss. Once he was gone, I started my plan. I called my friend Lisa and asked for her help. "Hey, Lisa, can you do me a huge favor?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Of course, Nancy. What's up?" she replied, concerned. "I need you to meet me at the cafe near Johnson's office." "I have something important to discuss," I said. "I'll be there in an hour," she promised. At the cafe, I explained everything to Lisa. She was shocked but ready to help. "Okay, so what's the plan?" Lisa asked, determined. "We need to follow them and find out where they're going. I have a feeling it's about the house in New Hampshire," I explained. Lisa nodded. "All right, let's do this." We spent the rest of the day preparing. I packed a small bag with essentials and made sure my phone was fully charged. Lisa and I drove to Johnson's office and waited in a nearby parking lot. At exactly 1:30 p.m., we saw Johnson leave the building and get into his car. Mary was already waiting inside. We followed them discreetly, keeping a safe distance. "Are you sure about this, Nancy?" Lisa asked, glancing at me. "I have to know the truth," I said firmly. We followed them for over an hour, finally arriving at a small private airstrip. They parked and got out, carrying luggage. "Looks like they're taking a private plane," Lisa whispered. "Let's get closer," I said, determined. We sneaked closer, hiding behind a small building. I took out my phone and recorded everything. "Mama, estás lista?" Johnson asked, looking around nervously. "Sí, hijo. Vimos antes de que alguien nos ve," Mary replied. They boarded the plane, and I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. I had all the evidence I needed. It was time to confront them and expose their plan. Lisa and I drove back home, and I prepared for the confrontation that would change everything. As I drove back home with Lisa, my mind was racing. I needed to gather as much evidence as possible before confronting Johnson and Mary. Their betrayal had cut deep, but I was determined to handle this smartly. "Are you okay, Nancy?" Lisa asked, her concern evident. "I will be, Lisa. I just need to gather more proof," I said, my voice steady but filled with resolve. We arrived at my house, and Lisa helped me set up a little command center in the living room. I spread out my notebook, laptop, and phone, determined to piece everything together. "I'll stay and help," Lisa offered. "Thanks, Lisa. I could really use the support," I said, grateful for her friendship. I replayed the recordings I had made, writing down every detail. The more I listened, the more pieces of their plan fell into place. They were planning to go to New Hampshire to secure the house from Johnson's great-uncle Jack. The plan involved leaving me behind and making sure I knew nothing about it. "Here, listen to this part," I said, handing Lisa my phone. "They're talking about the house and their flight." Lisa listened, her eyes widening. "Wow, Nancy, this is serious. They really were going to leave you behind." "I know," I said, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "But I need to make sure I have everything I need before I confront them." That night, after Lisa left, I went through Johnson's and Mary's social media profiles, emails, and any other communication channels I could access. I found more messages about their plan, confirming my worst fears. The next day, I decided to visit Great-Uncle Jack. I needed to talk to him in person and let him know what was going on. I called him up. "Hello, Uncle Jack. It's Nancy," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hello, dear. How are you?" Jack replied, his voice warm and friendly. I'm not doing so great. Can I come see you? It's important," I said. "Of course, Nancy. Come by any time," he said, sounding concerned. I drove to his house, my heart pounding. When I arrived, Jack greeted me with a warm hug. "What's going on, Nancy?" he asked, leading me inside. I took a deep breath and explained everything. I showed him the recordings and messages, my hands shaking slightly. Jack listened carefully, his expression growing serious. "I can't believe Johnson and Mary would do this. They always seemed so trustworthy." "I know, Uncle Jack. I'm just as shocked," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. He put a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Nancy. I promise you they won't get away with this." "Thank you, Uncle Jack." I didn't know who else to turn to, I said, feeling a bit of relief. "I'll take care of it." "Don't worry," he said firmly. With Jack on my side, I felt more confident. I spent the next few days gathering every piece of evidence I could find, from text messages to flight details. I even recorded more conversations between Johnson and Mary, using a small recorder I kept in my pocket. One evening, I was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, when Johnson walked in. "Hey, Nancy, how's everything?" he asked, leaning against the counter. "Good, just making dinner," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Great, need any help?" he offered. "No, I've got it. Thanks," I said, forcing a smile. As he walked out, I felt a surge of determination. It was almost time. I had all the evidence I needed. Soon, I would confront them and put an end to their deceit. That night, I called Lisa. "I'm ready," I said, my voice filled with resolve. "I'm with you, Nancy. Let's do this," Lisa replied. We made a plan to confront Johnson and Mary the next day. I went to bed, my mind racing but my heart steady. I was ready to face the truth and reclaim my life. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of determination. Today was the day I would confront Johnson and Mary. I had spent days gathering evidence, and now it was time to face them with the truth. Lisa arrived at my house early. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, giving me a reassuring hug. "I am," I replied, taking a deep breath. "Thank you for being here, Lisa. I don't think I could do this without you." We sat in the living room, waiting for Johnson to come home from work. I felt a mix of anxiety and resolve, but I knew this was necessary. Around 6 p.m., I heard the sound of his car pulling into the driveway. My heart pounded in my chest. "Here we go," I whispered to myself. Johnson walked in, looking tired but smiling when he saw me. "Hi, Nancy." "Hey, Lisa. What's going on?" I stood up, my hands shaking slightly. "We need to talk, Johnson. Right now." He looked confused but nodded. Okay, sure. What's this about? Before I could speak, Mary walked in through the back door, carrying a shopping bag. Hello, everyone, she said cheerfully, then noticed the serious expressions on our faces. What's happening? I took a deep breath and looked directly at Johnson. I know about your plan. I know everything. His face went pale. What are you talking about, Nancy? I've been listening. I've been learning Spanish in secret, and I've heard all your conversations with Mary, I said, my voice steady. Mary's eyes widened and she dropped the bag. You understood us. Yes, I did, I replied, and I recorded everything. I pulled out my phone and played a snippet of their conversation from the airstrip. Johnson's expression shifted from shock to anger. How could you invade our privacy like that? I laughed bitterly. You're seriously turning this on me? You were planning to leave me and take the house in New Hampshire without telling me. Mary stepped forward, her face flushed with anger. You had no right to eavesdrop on us. I had every right to know what my husband and mother-in-law were planning behind my back, I snapped. Johnson tried to calm things down. Nancy, let's talk about this. We can work it out. There's nothing to work out, I said firmly. I've already talked to Uncle Jack. He knows everything, and he promised me the house. Mary's face turned red with fury. You think you can just take what's ours? It's not yours. You were planning to deceive everyone to get it, I replied, standing my ground. Johnson looked desperate. Nancy, please, we can find a solution. Just give us a chance to explain. I shook my head. There's nothing left to explain. You betrayed me. You both did. And now you have to face the consequences. Lisa stepped in, her voice calm but firm. You need to leave, both of you. Nancy has made her decision, and you need to respect that. Mary glared at Lisa, then turned to Johnson. We're not going anywhere. Yes, you are, I said, my voice cold. You have no choice. The house is mine, and you need to leave. Johnson looked at me with a mix of anger and desperation. This isn't over, Nancy. Yes, it is, I replied, feeling a sense of finality. It's over. Mary and Johnson gathered their things, glaring at me the entire time. As they left, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was done. They were gone. Lisa hugged me tightly. You did it, Nancy. You stood up for yourself. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I couldn't have done it without you, Lisa. Thank you. We sat down on the couch, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. The confrontation was over, and I had come out stronger. The future was uncertain, but I knew I had the strength to face whatever came next. After the confrontation, the house felt eerily quiet. Johnson and Mary had left, but their betrayal still lingered in the air. I knew there was one more thing I needed to do: call Uncle Jack and let him know everything. I sat down at the kitchen table, my phone in hand. I dialed Uncle Jack's number, my fingers trembling slightly. After a few rings, he answered. Hello, Jack speaking, came his warm, familiar voice. Hi, Uncle Jack, it's Nancy, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Nancy, dear, how are you? Is everything all right? He asked, concern evident in his tone. Actually, I need to talk to you about something important, I replied. Of course, what's going on? He asked. I took a deep breath and began. It's about Johnson and Mary. I've discovered something you need to know. There was a pause on the other end of the line. What is it, Nancy? I've been learning Spanish in secret, and I overheard them planning to take the house in New Hampshire without telling me, I explained. They were planning to leave me behind. Uncle Jack was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice firm. Tell me everything, Nancy. I went on to explain how I had recorded their conversations and gathered all the evidence. I told him about the confrontation and how they had finally left. Uncle Jack, I'm so sorry this happened. I never imagined they would do something like this, I said, my voice cracking. Nancy, you have nothing to apologize for, he said gently. You've done the right thing by telling me. I'm just glad you found out before it was too late. Thank you, Uncle Jack, I said, feeling a bit of relief. I'm going to take care of this, Nancy. Don't worry, he assured me. They won't get away with what they've done. Thank you, I repeated, grateful for his support. Do you need anything? Are you okay? He asked, his concern evident. I'm all right. It's just been a lot to process, I admitted. I understand. You're strong, Nancy. You've handled this with grace and courage, he said. Thanks, Uncle Jack. That means a lot, I said, feeling a bit better. Keep me updated, okay? And if you need anything, call me, he said. I will. Thank you, I replied. After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, processing everything. Uncle Jack's support meant the world to me. Knowing he was on my side gave me the strength I needed to move forward. Later that evening, my phone rang again. It was Uncle Jack. Nancy, I've spoken to my lawyer. We're going to make sure the house is yours, and they won't be able to contest it, he said firmly. Thank you so much, Uncle Jack, I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. You deserve it, Nancy. You've been through enough, he said. We talked for a while longer, and by the end of the call, I felt a sense of peace. The house would be mine, and Johnson and Mary wouldn't be able to take it from me. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. I started to settle into my new reality, slowly reclaiming my space and my peace of mind. Lisa came over often, helping me redecorate and making the house feel more like home. One evening, as we were unpacking boxes, Lisa turned to me. Nancy, I'm really proud of you. You've handled this whole situation with so much strength. Thanks, Lisa. I couldn't have done it without you, I said, giving her a hug. Anytime, she replied, smiling. As we continued unpacking, I felt a sense of hope. The worst was behind me, and I was ready to start a new chapter in my life. With the support of Uncle Jack and Lisa, I knew I could face whatever came next. The days following the call with Uncle Jack were a mix of relief and uncertainty. I felt a sense of victory, but there was still a lot to process. Johnson and Mary's betrayal had left a scar, but I was determined to move forward. One sunny morning, I received a call from Uncle Jack. Nancy, can you come over today? I have some paperwork for you to sign regarding the house, he said. Of course, Uncle Jack. I'll be there soon, I replied. As I drove to Uncle Jack's house, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was it, the final step to securing the house and moving on from the betrayal. Uncle Jack greeted me warmly at the door. Come in, Nancy. Let's get this taken care of, he said, leading me to his study. I sat down at the large oak desk, feeling the weight of the moment. Uncle Jack handed me the documents, and I started reading through them. It was all there in black and white. The house was officially mine. Just sign here and here, Uncle Jack said, pointing to the lines. I took a deep breath and signed the papers. As I handed them back, a wave of relief washed over me. It was done. The house was mine. Congratulations, Nancy, Uncle Jack said, smiling. You deserve this. Thank you so much, Uncle Jack. I don't know what I would have done without you, I said, feeling tears well up in my eyes. Your family, Nancy. I'm just glad I could help, he replied, giving me a reassuring pat on the shoulder. We chatted for a while longer, and then I headed back home, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The house was mine, and I could finally start rebuilding my life. That evening, Lisa came over to help me celebrate. We ordered pizza and sat on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes and laughter. I'm so proud of you, Nancy, Lisa said, raising her glass. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, I echoed, clinking my glass with hers. As the night went on, I felt a sense of peace. The house, once a symbol of betrayal, was now a symbol of my strength and resilience. I was ready to make it my own. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into transforming the house. I painted the walls, rearranged furniture, and added personal touches to every room. Lisa was by my side the whole time, her support unwavering. One afternoon, as we were hanging pictures in the living room, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Johnson standing there, looking disheveled. "Nancy, can we talk?" he asked, his voice pleading. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "What do you want, Johnson?" I need to explain. "Please, give me a chance," he said, his eyes filled with desperation. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "Go ahead," I said, crossing my arms. "I'm sorry, Nancy. I never meant to hurt you. It all got out of hand," he began. "Got out of hand? You and your mother planned to leave me behind and take the house," I replied, my voice cold. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I regret everything," he said, his voice breaking. I looked at him, feeling a mix of anger and pity. "It's too late for apologies, Johnson. I've moved on. The house is mine, and you need to respect that." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I understand. I wanted to say I'm sorry." "Goodbye, Johnson," I said, turning to go back inside. As I closed the door, I felt a sense of closure. Johnson's apology didn't erase the hurt, but it was a step towards healing. I returned to the living room, where Lisa was waiting. "Everything okay?" she asked, concern in her eyes. "Yeah, it's finally over," I said, smiling. We spent the rest of the day finishing up the decorating, and by the time the sun set, the house felt like home. It was a place of peace, a place where I could heal and grow. As I stood in the living room, looking around at the space I had made my own, I felt a sense of accomplishment. I had faced betrayal and come out stronger. This was my victory, and I was ready for whatever came next. The house was finally mine, and every corner of it now reflected my personality and taste. The betrayal of Johnson and Mary was a shadow of the past, and I was ready to embrace a new chapter in my life. With each passing day, I felt stronger and more at peace. One bright morning, I decided to take Uncle Jack's suggestion and visit Spain. A change of scenery seemed like the perfect way to start fresh. I booked my tickets, packed my bags, and before I knew it, I was on a plane, heading towards a new adventure. Upon arriving in Spain, I was greeted by the warm sun and vibrant culture. I checked into a cozy little hotel in a quaint town and spent my days exploring, enjoying the sights, and savoring the delicious food. One afternoon, I decided to visit a local cafe known for its beautiful view of the town square. As I sipped my coffee, I couldn't help but feel a sense of contentment. This place felt like a dream. Just then, a friendly voice broke my reverie. "Hello, mind if I join you?" a woman asked, her smile genuine. "Of course, please do," I replied, motioning to the empty chair. "I'm Isabella," she said, extending her hand. "Nancy," I replied, shaking her hand. We started chatting, and I found out that Isabella was a local artist. She shared stories about her life in Spain, her art, and the beautiful places she had visited. It felt like I had found a kindred spirit. "So, what brings you to our lovely town?" Isabella asked. "I needed a fresh start," I said, smiling. "I've been through a lot recently, and I thought a change of scenery would do me good." Isabella nodded. "Spain has a way of healing the soul. I'm sure you'll find what you're looking for here." As the days turned into weeks, Isabella and I became fast friends. She introduced me to her circle of friends, and soon I felt like a part of their community. We spent our days exploring the town, visiting art galleries, and enjoying long leisurely meals at local restaurants. One evening, Isabella invited me to her studio. It was filled with beautiful paintings, each one telling a story of its own. "Your work is amazing," I said, admiring a painting of a sunset over the ocean. "Thank you," Isabella replied. "Painting is my way of expressing myself. It helps me process my emotions and experiences." I nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. Writing does the same for me. It's how I make sense of the world. Isabella smiled. "Then you should write about your time here. Capture the beauty and the peace you find in Spain." That night, back at my hotel, I took out my notebook and started writing. The words flowed effortlessly, capturing the essence of my experiences, the people I had met, and the new sense of hope I felt. Weeks turned into months, and before I knew it, my time in Spain was coming to an end. I had found healing, friendship, and a renewed sense of purpose. As I packed my bags to return home, I felt a mix of sadness and excitement. Spain had given me the fresh start I needed, but it was time to return and continue building my new life. Back home, I found that the house no longer held any memories of betrayal. Instead, it was filled with the warmth and peace I had found in Spain. I continued writing, pouring my heart into my stories, and even started a blog to share my experiences. One day, as I was working in my garden, my phone rang. It was Uncle Jack. "Hi, Nancy. How are you?" he asked, his voice cheerful. "I'm doing great, Uncle Jack. Spain was exactly what I needed," I replied. "I'm glad to hear that. Listen, I was thinking, maybe you should come over for dinner this weekend." "I'd love to hear all about your trip," he said. "I'd love that," I said, smiling. That weekend, I went to Uncle Jack's for dinner. We sat in his cozy living room, and I shared stories about my time in Spain, the people I met, and the peace I found. "I'm so proud of you, Nancy," Uncle Jack said, his eyes filled with warmth. "You've come a long way, and I know there's so much more ahead for you." "Thank you, Uncle Jack," I said, feeling grateful for his support. As I drove home that night, I felt a sense of fulfillment. My journey had been difficult, but it had also been transformative. I had found strength in myself and had built a new life filled with hope and possibility. Standing in my living room, I looked around at the home I had created. It was a place of peace, love, and new beginnings. I knew that whatever challenges came my way, I had the strength to overcome them. My future was bright, and I was ready to embrace it with open arms.